Fam, what's going on? It is Kyle Henderson of Bama Football on YouTube. I appreciate you guys being here. Can I get a roll tide inside the comment box? Hope everybody had a fantastic Thanksgiving. Let me know where you're watching from inside the comment box. Today's poll, I'm asking you, your confidence level in Alabama beating Auburn in the Iron Bowl. All right? When you call into the show today, I want your score prediction. I want your game MVP. I want to hear from you. Today, we're going to go over keys to the Iron Bowl, X factors this weekend, how Alabama wins this game, how Alabama could lose this game, what a win does for Alabama, and what a loss does for Alabama. I really hope that you had time to celebrate Thanksgiving yesterday with your loved ones. If you're watching overseas and you're serving this great country, we appreciate your service. We understand that freedom isn't free. The temperature has started to dip a little bit here in beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Here is the forecast for the Iron Bowl. You got a tailgate temperature of 50 degrees. The game time kick, which is at 2:30 Central Time TV, is ABC, which would be 51 degrees. And for the fourth quarter, you got 46 degrees. Dress accordingly for the Iron Bowl. So many storylines going into this game and so much on the line in an Iron Bowl every single year. Last year, Auburn thought they had it. Turns out to be a 4th and 31 with Jalen Milroe hitting Isaiah Bond for the 4th and 31. Year before, Alabama beat Auburn 49-27. It seems like when the games are in Tuscaloosa, it seems to go Alabama's way more often with like less stress. And I think we figured out why, because Coach Saban said last week on College Game Day that Auburn, the barn, is haunted. So today I got Caden up in the house producing. Caden's my son. He's out from school. Caden, what's up, man?
What's up? How are you guys?
Good. Turn you up just a little bit. Caden's been here. I mean, we lived here for for 8 years now. Caden, the Iron Bowl. You never know who's going to win these rivalry games.
You truly don't. It doesn't matter how good Alabama is. It doesn't matter how bad Auburn is, which is typically the case. It's always going to be a close game, especially when it's played at Auburn, which it isn't this year. But it's still going to be a great game, especially considering how Alabama's been playing this year.
Yeah.
And Auburn's turning it up in this back end of the season. You got so many great players on Auburn too.
100%. Yeah, I think in a game like this too, and I'm interested to get your take. Like I have coming up here in my keys of the game, big-time players rise up in big-time games. You're about to be 16 years old, and you have a player for Alabama's team, Brian Williams, who I'm sure you know of. You got to expect a player like this to rise up. Has it been impressive? What's kind of the teenage talk around a player like Ryan Williams being so impactful at this age?
Being only 17 and playing at this level of college football, making these crazy plays and crazy catches against full-grown men at this point, it's mind-blowing that this kid is still in high school and that this kid isn't even a true senior, or wasn't even a true senior when he graduated. I mean, he's a major part of this game. I think he is a little showy, but what can I say? He's an amazing player.
And I think a guy like that can be showy because he is it.
Yeah, because he can back it up. Who cares what he does? This dude is dicing up your defense.
And this week, earlier on the show, or earlier this week, DeMarcus Riddick, who's an upperclassman for Auburn, he called out Ryan Williams, where he said that he doesn't think that Ryan Williams is a big-time player. And I was like, man, he's calling out a guy who's not even 18 years old.
Yeah, put some respect on his name if you're literally calling out someone that's 4 years younger than you.
Yeah, for sure. So, look, Caden just finished up his season as a sophomore, made it to the playoffs, and wanted to have him on the show. Sometimes he does stuff behind the scenes to our YouTube channel, and, we're really happy about, Caden, and we love having you on the channel. Caden and I, we follow the NFL, so before I get to my show, we follow the 49ers. It's been a tough season. Caden, the 49ers, injury after injury.
It's been very hard. I think injuries has been a constant thing. I think it's now getting to the point of is there something else going on with the team? Because a lot of the players' production seems to be slowing down. Some of the play calling has been questionable. Yeah. I'm not really sure. I think our window for the Super Bowl is just slowly closing. Yeah,
I saw them kind of on the back end in terms of being a playoff team. All right, before I let you go here this morning, look, it's Coach Kalen DeBoer's first year. it was going to be challenged for any type of coach to take over for Coach Saban. What are your thoughts of the team right now? They've lost 3 games. There's still something to play for. Clearly, who knows? This team gets hot. They can win out. Who knows? I mean, that's the polarizing thing about this team. What's the kind of the talk about Coach Kalen DeBoer, if there is any, with his first year?
I think it being his first year and having to fill Saban's shoes, there's obviously going to be a huge gap. I mean, you can't expect that Saban level performance, and especially in the first year from where is Washington and what division is that?
They were in the Pac-12, which is there's only 2 teams in the Pac-12 now. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, and then you can always argue, well, it's his first year, you should give him some slack. Well, look at the team. Look at the roster he has.
For sure.
He has possibly the greatest Alabama roster of all time. There's no excuse for this. And the discipline, the amount of penalties is also something huge that's impacted them greatly this season.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, the Iron Bowl could clearly go either way any year. I'm feeling a little bit more confident. I'll tell you why here coming up in the show. But Caden, I appreciate you joining on this morning, man. Appreciate it.
Of course.
All right. That's my son, Caden Henderson. And yeah, I think that you go into a game like this. I mean, there's so much on the line and a lot at stake. So we're going to dive into that. We have, the past meetings for, since 2013 up on the board. When you guys call in today, I open up the phone lines here in just a minute. Want to get your score prediction and your MVP. So definitely hit me up with that inside the comment box. In terms of keys to beating Auburn, this is what I came up with, yesterday in the evening time and a little bit this morning. So, and I think this, look, I'm not telling you anything earth-shattering here when I'm about to talk. It's just these are what I feel are the keys to the game in terms of Alabama beating Auburn. I think, number one, you have to stop the run. Last year, Auburn put up 244 yards on Alabama's defense, and I think the defense last year was better than the defense is now. I think the defensive coaches were better than they are now. Hugh Freeze is a master at being able to move the football against teams that cannot stop the run specifically. That is really concerning up at that top part. So, Kane Womack, all eyes on you. What can you do this week? And what's also scary is the fact that Deontay Lawson is not playing in this game, and calling the plays for Alabama will be Justin Jefferson, who'll be wearing the green dot for the first time all this season. I think that's one of the marquee factors in this game going into the Iron Bowl. Point number 2. Jalen Milroe has to feast, right? It can't be a famine-type game for Milroe. He has to be able to dig down deep. Everybody has been super critical of him, and rightfully so because of his play. But we all know that this young man is capable to put the team on his back and to win marquee games. This is the biggest game that Jalen Milroe has played in his career up to this point in time. There's a lot on the line for Alabama in terms of where they want to go. You lose this game, things could potentially fall off the rails for Alabama, okay? They're not going to make the playoffs. Who knows what else happens? His draft stock continues to fall. So this is a time. He has one more opportunity. Alabama, the door is literally cracked open for you to be able to still make the playoffs and to salvage this season, which they still can. All right. Alabama, look, if the running backs start to get hot and they start to cook, then let them eat. There's been a lot of different times this season where you've seen Jam Miller start to get hot, right? 8 yards, 2 yards, 6 yards, and then for whatever reason, you go away from that. I think time of possession in this type of game is very important. And I think if you can win the time of possession in this game, odds go to Alabama's favorite. Remember, Alabama's favored by 11.5 in this game. Special teams, look, James Burnap, we haven't really talked about this as of late. There's been a couple punts that have been a little bit, shanked or whatever you want to call them. James Burnap is one of the best punters, if not the best punter in college football. And look, Graham Nicholson, come with it, man. This isn't the MAC championship. This is big-time college football. And we want to see what you can do in a big-time college atmosphere at Bryant-Denny. So he is, someone that has to absolutely be able to hit a clutch field goal when Alabama needs it, maybe later in the game. Don't let emotions get the best of you in a game like this. And what I mean by this is Auburn, what they're doing right now is they're trying to get Alabama to clap back in terms of, on the field, getting into, penalties, whatever. Just play your game right there. Let them talk. But you can't let the emotions get the best of you. You have to keep the right psychological disposition in this game throughout 4 quarters because costly penalties. And as you know, it's always the second person that gets penalized, right? You get hit on the helmet. You turn around and slap this dude. You're getting the flag. It happens every single time. Big plays are needed. That's why I asked Kate and my son. Paging Ryan Williams for a punt return for a touchdown, right? look, if I'm putting into a college football script and if this is one big make-believe show, Ryan Williams returns a punt for a touchdown tomorrow. I think in a game like this, big-time players are going to rise up. Wouldn't it be fitting that a guy that was recruited by Auburn, they thought they had Ryan Williams in the bag, comes to Alabama in a game like this where every single thing is back against the wall. You punt to Ryan Williams and he returns it for an 83-yard touchdown. Absolutely need a big-time performance from Ryan Williams. And what other players will rise up, right? There's plenty of opportunities for players to rise up. Jalen Milroe has to feast. As mentioned, you have to have a big performance by Ryan Williams. Open up the phone lines in just a second. I've showed this graphic before. Auburn has the edge in a lot of these different areas. The concerning part is the total defense, ranked number 24 in the country, and the run defense, which is ranked 20th, actually better numbers than what Oklahoma had in this last game that Alabama had. I've mentioned this before. This is Jalen Milroe against SEC play. This is not opinion. These are facts. Against SEC play since October 5th. 3 passing touchdowns. Last was against Tennessee. 8 interceptions, 3 against Oklahoma. He's been sacked 12 times. 77 rushes for that during that point in time for almost 300 yards and 8 touchdowns with a 61% completion percentage. All right. So those are kind of, things that we're watching, keys to the game, Alabama versus Auburn. So much at stake for the Iron Bowl. I'm going to open up the call-in line now. When you call into the show, I want your score prediction. I want your MVP. And remember, there's people behind you that want to chime in on the call-in show. So, let's get everybody through. And away we go with the first caller, which is 856. It looks like we got Angel coming in for Pigeon Forge. Angel, what's up, man? I appreciate you being here. Y'all? Yeah, thank you for joining us. I hope you had a fantastic Thanksgiving. And welcome in the show, man. What you got for a score prediction and MVP? Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah. First and foremost, this is a big game. Alabama wins this game 38-24, and here's why: because the running backs do finally get fed in this game. No more passing up on the running backs because everyone's complaining all year why are we not using the running backs when they're like fresh and healthy. Everyone else is like beat up, and with Nick Sheridan doing the tight end thing, that's not going to work in this game because. We gotta have the running backs fed because what we see with C.J. Dupree happened last week, not catching balls. I don't know. We should trust our tight ends because our running backs are fresh, they're ready to go, and we're not using them. And then Nick Sheridan, man, this is his game. This is a game where he can save his job. Because honestly, I don't like this play calling. He's Tommy Reese 2.0, but man, it's hard to tell who is better though, Tommy Reese or Nick Sheridan. They're both similar, and they're both also tight end coaches. But my MVP though for Alabama has to be Jam Miller because this is his game where he needs to take over. Because Jalen, that's not going to work against Auburn like it did last week against Oklahoma either. Because Jalen, he's just struggling, man. I don't know if I should trust him in this situation because they're going to see a QB run instantly, and they're going to shut it down. I just think Alabama needs to have the running backs ready to go, honestly. But also the Auburn players talking so much smack. I mean, they're barely getting. They're not going to make a bowl game when they lose this game. I mean, they were just like being crazy, like they're they haven't done well either all season, and they're talking so much smack on Monday, and not even bowl eligible. That's embarrassing, man. I know they beat A&M, but this game means everything to me, Kyle. But anyway, Kyle, I'm gonna let you go here, man.
Yeah,
Roll Tide.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
Let's go get this W and see what happens.
All right, man. All right.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide to you, man. That's Angel out in Pigeon Forge. Calling line is open, 205-850-1994. Angel has a 38-24 running back have to be in play, and his MVP is Jam Miller. As I mentioned, I mean, I think, when you look at the keys to the game, particularly up in this box that I have, running the football has to be something that Alabama can do. I don't care if it's with Jalen Milroe. I don't care if it's with Jam Miller. I don't care if it's with Justice Haynes or Richard Young. Like, can you run the football? And I think the more that Alabama is able to run the football, the more games they're able to win on this back end of the season when things seem kind of bleak. And look, let's face it. The committee would love for Alabama to be able to come out, dominate this game, and really showcase to the nation that they deserve to be in the playoffs. There's an open spot, okay? There's an open spot, and it's like, which team wants to get in the playoffs? Is it Clemson? Is it Alabama? Right? Is it SMU? Is it Miami? Like, who wants to sit at the table of 12? Now, I understand the way that the playoffs work and the complexities of like having to get a group of 5 in and having to get the Big 10 champ and the ACC champ and the Big 12 champ all at the table. But there's a spot open, maybe 2. And we're watching that Notre Dame game, right? We're watching Notre Dame and USC as well. There was a couple games last night that were on. I watched the NFL games. And, of course, the Cooper Rush, the quarterback for the Cowboys, let me down on my fantasy team. Call line is open 205-850-9094 if you want to get your calls in and your score predictions. But you have some games taking place today. A lot of the games taking place on Friday are college games right here on Black Friday. Sorry, I thought I was going to sneeze there for a second. Stanford taking on San Jose, and Georgia taking on Georgia Tech. How are we feeling about this Georgia Tech and Georgia game taking place tonight at 6:30? I mean, look, the line is 18. I think Georgia is another team right now. Okay, is this Georgia team going to be the team that kind of puts things together and wins another national championship game? Or are they going to be a team that kind of underwhelms us and loses to an Ole Miss, whoever that is down the road? I don't know. They beat Georgia Tech tonight for sure. And then in the SEC championship game, I guess against Texas or Texas A&M, whoever wins that game, I would imagine that Georgia is able to beat Texas again. And then you got to think where Texas goes in the bracket, right? So a lot still going on. And as Jarvis said, Memphis, but nobody talks about Memphis. They're not a high-profile type team, but they did beat Tulane last night and knocked the Green Wave out. Chris from New Jersey, come with it, man. Chris, how are those golden mashed potatoes?
Golden mashed potatoes. Well, that's the first thing I was going to say. They were the bomb.
That's good to hear.
All right, so I want to be real super positive. I hope you had a wonderful dinner and holiday, and everybody in the undefeated.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick with 38-17, and I'm going to say winning in, and I want to just say the fix is in for us, and we should, seldom does anybody have the fix in for them in life, and I think the fix is in for us, so we should just be quiet and just take it, and when we get in, we should just be, oh, God, I can't believe we got in. We'll be surprised. But I think if we win, we're in. And happy Friday. Happy belated Thanksgiving to everybody. And how was your meal, Kyle? Give us a description.
Oh, it was great. Yeah, we had beans, greens, tomatoes, potatoes. No, we had all the fixings. It was great. And really thankful just to be around family, and mashed potatoes were solid. I think the MVPs were the sweet potatoes. The sweet potatoes were made by T's mom were fantastic. I'm talking, maybe close to a 10 out of 10, and throwing 10s out of 10s aren't easy to do. Also had some dressing, which was very well put together with some gravy. So yeah, all in all, really good. So, totally good evening. Nice. And opportunity to be with the family for sure. Chris, what about MVP, man, for this game?
Okay, Kyle, I've spoken to you ad nauseum all year. Mostly I've been not right or something. No, well, I don't want to say that. I've been 60% right, so I'm got to go with Milroe. Milroe is it's a redemption game, and I think he runs for 2 and he throws for 2, and then somebody else comes up with we get a Haynes or a Jan Miller, and we win. So let's go with Milroe, and I'm going to say everybody say their prayers tonight that we win tomorrow, so we're in. And so our season continues, and we keep the recruiting class. And Keelan Russell is our quarterback next year.
Yep.
So, all right, brother, listen, have a happy Friday.
Yeah.
My best to you and the fam. My
Yep.
best to the undefeated. Roll Tide. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right, man. Take it easy. All right. That's Chris calling in from New Jersey. Are we doing this Black Friday? What are we getting for Black Friday? And are we still doing Black Friday? Call line is open, 205-850-1994. Are we doing Black Friday like physically? Are you going to the stores, right? Are you going to the stores, or are you like shopping on Amazon? You know, because you can just go to Amazon and just order the products that you want. You're not going to get the instant gratification of getting those items today. So, like, are you doing the Black Friday? The OG 40 Club is saying Kyle is a Southern boy now. Yeah, you know, look, living here, because that was my 8th Thanksgiving here in Tuscaloosa yesterday. So yeah, I mean that's the South. But I'm still, next year, I'm telling you, the week before, I'm going to put out a public service announcement that if anybody has a seat at the table, because I need to do I need to do some more like soul food for my Thanksgiving, and I'm so open to it. Okay, I want to do the collard greens. I want to do, you know, so you guys have been talking about the mac and cheese and the dressing. I mean, shoot, Q called yesterday from Texas and was talking about a Cajun turkey, and that they're having brisket too. But yeah, so next year we're gonna set this up and we do Kyle experiences. I'm gonna go around, we're gonna sit at the table, and we're gonna do this right. Okay, so I can get the collard greens done right. Call line is open, 205-850-1994. Look, this is Caitlin DeBoer's first Iron Bowl. It's a big one. Your first Iron Bowl is a big one. The first Iron Bowl that I went to ever was down at the barn, and it was crazy because I had never seen like that year. Let's see what year it was. I guess it was a 2017 Iron Bowl. That had to be it. Yeah. Okay. So my first Iron Bowl experience, I drove down to Auburn. This is a true story. I drove with Tony Tsoukalas of Rivals, and we drove down to Montgomery. And we stopped at Jay Tate's house. So Jay Tate runs the Auburn site, right? Stopped at his house. We had some Thanksgiving leftovers, and then we drove from Montgomery to Auburn. And we go to Auburn, and I'd never been there before, right? So this is my first experience. And at that point in time, Alabama, I mean, they were, let me see, I'm pulling up the schedule right now. I want to see what it was. This is in 2017. So at that point in time, Alabama was undefeated. They had won all their games. They were coming off a 56-0 win over Mercer. They beat Mississippi State, LSU. They were undefeated, and Jalen Hurts was rolling, right? So I had never seen, and at this point, like, I come into Alabama, and I'm like, man, you know, and this is my first Iron Bowl. I'm like, okay. Auburn, I saw the eagle fly, which was cool. You know, they had a huge screen, I remember. And they dominated Alabama. I had never seen a team be more physical and dominate Alabama, like never. And they end up beating Alabama by a score of 26-14. Right? Jalen Hurts only passed for 112 and runs for another 82. The crazy thing is I thought they were out of the playoffs that year too. Well, because they weren't going to the SEC championship game. They end up being picked as a team that goes into the playoffs, and that was the year that they end up winning the national championship. So they sat out the SEC championship, ended up going to play Clemson in New Orleans, and then played Georgia in Atlanta. That was my first year. Calvin Ridley on that team, Jalen Hurts. So a lot can go on in the Iron Bowl, clearly. And Coach Saban said that place is haunted. And I'll tell you what, the games at Auburn seem to be very, very tight. Because I went over there the next year, or it was a couple years later. It was the Mac Jones game in 2019. Tua got hurt a couple weeks prior against Mississippi State, right? Is when he like broke his hip, or his hip was dislocated. And you go into Auburn again, and Auburn wins 48 to 45. And once again, that was another game where, you know, a team was just much more physical than Alabama. And that's the thing about Auburn. They're physical. They play good defense. I was kind of surprised that they let Gus Malzahn go, to be honest, because like he seemed to have a little bit of success against Coach Saban. Harsin clearly wasn't it. Be careful what you ask for. And now they've settled in on Hugh Freeze. What's scary to me, and I see your guys' results inside the comment box, a lot of people are nervous AF. And for good reason. Nobody knows what's going to happen with this team. Nobody knows what's going to happen in the Iron Bowl. You add those two things together, who the hell knows? I don't know. Coach Kalen DeBoer's never coached in the Iron Bowl. My other favorite story about the Iron Bowl is in 2020, the COVID year. I love to tell the story. So it was 2020. It was the COVID year. And Coach Saban, a week prior, tested positive for COVID. So what are we going to do? Like, who is going to coach the team? You know, like, what's going to happen? So they announce that it's going to be Steve Sarkisian. So I'll never forget it. You remember this? Steve Sarkisian comes out and he walks around the field. He does like the walk, and they play really well, and they beat Auburn 42-13. Mac Jones throws for 302 yards. Najee Harris has 96. But the funniest part of that Iron Bowl experience was they asked Coach Saban via Zoom after the game, like, what his experience was. Do you remember this? And Coach Saban said that him and Miss Terry had to quarantine from each other. So he was upstairs and she was downstairs. And he was listening. Coach Saban, he had two monitors, he said. One that was like the exact game cast, and then the TV, because the TV's delayed. And he said that what was driving him crazy is that he could hear Miss Terry downstairs cheering, like yelling and screaming. And he was like, what the hell is she cheering about? So someone said recently, like, who was the last non-Alabama or non-coach other than Nick Saban to beat Auburn? It's Steve Sarkisian, right? And then, I mean, like every single year, the Iron Bowl is something different. I mean, you look at the 4 overtime game, right? And Bryce Young, right? This is in 2024, and you look at that game, and I mean, absolute madness between Alabama and Auburn that year. And that's Bryce Young, right? What was that, in 2021? Yeah, it was a 24-22 in overtime. Remember? Bryce Young threw for 317. But what was crazy is in the final minutes, you have Bryce Young lead a 12. This is, I'm serious. These are like Iron Bowl memories from the past. Bryce Young leads the team down the field on a 97-yard drive. 97-yard drive. It lasted 12 plays, and he connects with, remember Ja'Cory Brooks? You know, does anybody know where Ja'Cory Brooks is right now? Ja'Cory Brooks is having himself a season in Louisville. All right, if you haven't seen it. You go into overtime. 1, 2, 3, 4 overtimes, and it's Bryce Young who found John Mechie. 24-22. William with the super chat. You know what? The call-in show, I get it. Nobody's gonna call in and want to sound, you know, want to be wrong. You're nervous. I get it. I'll give a score prediction. So we'll just turn this to Iron Bowl memories. I get it. It's okay. We got, let's see. We got Bears. He's become a level 1 fan funder. That's what's up. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. And we got William in. Just says, beat Auburn, run the damn ball. with the $10 super chat. I got you. All right. 2022, it was 49-27. Bryce Young threw for 343. You know who's slicing teams up in the NFL is Gibbs. We didn't really have that much time to appreciate Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs was, man. Remember look, if you're a Lions fan, this is your year. The Lions are unbelievable. That's a good football team. They have so many weapons, and I love the fact that they got J-Mo, Brian Branch. Yeah, I get it. I'm superstitious too. The Bears had 13 points in the fourth quarter, but Detroit's able to win by a score of 23-20. Man, the Lions are so good. Let's see, what did Gibbs have yesterday? Gibbs had 87. Williams had 28. Gibbs also had 17 yards receiving. We just didn't have enough time to really appreciate Jahmyr Gibbs. All right, so last year's Iron Bowl, everybody remembers what happened, right? Everybody remembers. And when you go back to that game, I mean, Auburn at this point in time is on the struggle bus, right? They were 6-6, 3-5, ended up 3-5 in conference play. But it takes Alabama a 4th and 31 to be able to beat Auburn. You go to the play-by-play and you look at kind of the all plays and you look to the last remaining series of that drive. It was crazy because it was 3rd and goal at the Auburn 26 for Alabama, right? This is last year. And then there was a Alabama penalty. Or let's rewind. It was a 2nd down. This is crazy. It was a 2nd and goal at the Auburn 8 last year with 1:43 in the game. It was the snap that was a loss for 18 yards, right? So now it's 3rd and goal at the Auburn 26. It was an Alabama penalty. A legal forward pass on Milroe, -5, which equates next to a 4th down, right? Of 4th and goal at the Auburn 31. That's crazy. That series of events was absolutely, that was crazy. And you know what? The funniest, well, there was people were stringing together videos of people celebrating the last year's Iron Bowl. But the best one, it was like these 3 guys, they were watching the game together. And it was 4th and 31. And Milroe goes back to throw it, and he throws it, and the TV freezes. I'm not kidding you. The TV freezes. And the guys are like, what happened? And when it picks up, when it rebuffers, the guys are celebrating. So they missed the catch. Oh, man. Crazy. All right. Look, a couple points to this game. Will Coach Kalen DeBoer change the quarterback if he needs to? I would say no. I think this is Milroe till the absolute wheels fall off, period. Different game plan? No, there will not be. The game plan is the same game plan. If I know that, Hugh Freeze knows that. It is what it is. Let's see what game plan and which players execute better. It's going to be Jalen Milroe run the football. Jalen Milroe hit you over the top with the haymaker to Ryan Williams or to Jeremy Bernard for big scores, and that could happen. Shoot, Jalen Milroe could throw for 250 tomorrow and run for 200 yards and score 4 touchdowns. Everybody remembers this game. Coach Saban said, if you're remembered for anything at Alabama, it's how you play in the Iron Bowl. Kalen DeBoer versus Hugh Freeze, it seems like a really nice guy versus a guy who doesn't care anything else but just like Hugh Freeze is the type of guy that like bites during fights. You know? This is him. Bruce Pearl, Hugh Freeze, those guys are together. He's a good coach, all right? He's beaten Coach Saban twice. DeBoer wants to be undefeated at home. Hugh Freeze wants to win the in-state prospects. DeBoer is undefeated at home. Hugh Freeze is winning the in-state race. I don't care if you say the in-state prospects aren't important. Yes, they are. Freeze wants to derail Alabama 100%. I don't know what Hugh Freeze's approval rating is. I would imagine it's like on a scale of 1 to 10, it's probably like a 5. If he beats Alabama, it goes up to like an 8 because he's recruiting so well. Same thing with Brent Venables. People were talking about Brent Venables, you know, maybe like another coach at Oklahoma that he wasn't ready. Now Brent Venables is like the star of Oklahoma. That'll catapult your program beating Alabama. Doesn't matter if it's Nick Saban, doesn't matter if it's Coach Kalen DeBoer, period. And I know, Andre, it's the same game plan, but nothing is going to change. And Rocketown, you're right. Freeze is clever. Yes. Jarvis is saying, who are we? So this just in by Bleacher Report, Cam Newton and Ryan Williams will face off in College Football 25 on the Jumbotron. So I guess Ryan Williams and Cam Newton are going to play little NCAA football. I guess they already did. Oh, they're playing right now, actually. And Ryan Williams is absolutely taking it to Cam Williams, to Cam Newton. Ryan Williams is beating Cam Newton. This is live right now by a score of 35-14. Ryan Williams is obviously Alabama, and Cam Newton is Auburn. And Ryan Williams is absolutely slicing him up. All right. Keep this short and sweet. Here's why Alabama beats Auburn. Despite Alabama's recent performance against Oklahoma, I think that this team is able to dig deep and win a must-win game against Auburn. I don't know how close the score will be. I am predicting a much better performance by Jalen Milroe. Give me 4 total touchdowns by number 4. Give me a big play or 2 by Ryan Williams. Big-time players rise up in big-time games. I never pick against Alabama. I'm not going to pick against Alabama again. If this game is played at Auburn and the Haunted Barn, I'm probably picking the Tigers, but not this time. Jalen Milroe comes with it. Expect Alabama to have a similar game plan, and I know that's probably frustrating, but I think it'll be enough to beat Auburn. Critical piece of this game, the critical piece of this game will be if Alabama can stop the run or not. What is concerning on that facet is the fact that Alabama is without Deontay Lawson at inside linebacker. You need a really big game from Justin Jefferson, and you need for Coach Kane Womack to figure out how to stop a very clever Hugh Freeze in the Iron Bowl. Take Alabama 37, Auburn 31. That's your score. Jarvis, what's the total on this game? Is it way over? You think there's going to be more points or less than that? I just shot from the heart right there. I don't even know. That wasn't scripted. 37 plus 31. That's 68. I'm way over. Man. Saying that they're going to score 37 points when they just scored 3 is a bit of a stretch, Mr. Henderson. That's the thing, though. Who is this team? And is it, feast or famine? Man, could you imagine if they scored like 14 points or something like that tomorrow only? God, that'd be terrible. I don't think that'd be the case. I think they'll be able to play I think they'll be able to play much better. Just the rivalry game tomorrow, they probably had a great week of practice. 52.5. Oh, shoot, I went way over. 52.5, man. I went way over. It probably maybe go like Milroe, 4 total touchdowns, 27-21. Oof. Let me ask you this, too. Do you think that Auburn will run for more or less than 225? I think if they run for like 250, I think Auburn probably wins. That would be, you know what? I didn't think about that, Thomas, is like a low-scoring 13-10 type game. But I think everybody's nervous. I'm nervous about this game. Man, it will be so deflating. Here are a couple reasons. As I said in the show, if Alabama wins this game, Alabama gets so much momentum from winning the Iron Bowl. They will be back into the college football playoffs. Just watch. This team could find itself and find its true identity at the back end of the season. There's still a lot to play for. And despite losing Deontay Lawson and Cole Adams and Keon Sabb, they haven't suffered a lot of injuries compared to the rest of the top teams in college football. Maybe if they win this game, they find themselves and enter the college football playoffs with a lot of momentum. And I'll tell you this, there is not one team that if they find out they're hosting Alabama, nobody's going to be excited about hosting them. Despite the way that this team has played, despite the fact that they've lost 3 games this season, nobody wants to play Alabama in the first round of the playoffs. Now, if Alabama loses this game, I think it gets really bad, honestly. I think you lose 4 games in a season, and I understand Coach Kalen DeBoer's approval rating will probably still be higher than you would think, but I think it does translate to maybe a couple more recruits going elsewhere. But I think where it really impacts this team is in the locker room, and I think that players do transfer out. And I think depending on how Jalen Milroe plays in this game, it'll probably give us a good indicator of if the young man is able to go into the NFL or if he decides to come back. He has until January to decide this. So the transfer portal window is from December 9th to December 24th. I think if Alabama loses, they're going to have something in place to retain the roster, to get these guys to continue to play for whatever bowl game they play for. Playing an example of this, last year in these non-playoff games, a lot of players are going to opt out. I would imagine that would be the case with Alabama. So I think it affects them recruiting. I think it affects them in transfer portal and the overall brand, right? I don't want to buy this. This is the first year Coach Kalen DeBoer doesn't have all the pieces in place. Just wait until all those players that were Coach Saban recruiting players are gone. So there's a lot on the line. A loss, I think, does so much in a negative light for Alabama. Jamal, what's up, man? You know, in the weirdest thing is with Georgia. If somehow Alabama and Georgia meet again, I know this is so far out, Georgia will be the favorite, and somehow, some way, Alabama will beat Georgia. I don't know what it is, but Kirby Smart has pretty much, he can't beat Alabama. It's in his mind. We've seen this a few times already. Georgia has, arguably, the better roster, the better quarterback, the better coach, a better defense. Vegas likes Georgia. And guess what happens? Alabama just smacks Georgia right across the face again. It happens. It happened in the SEC title game. Georgia was favored. They failed. This year, they were favored to beat Alabama over here. They failed. So, and you know what? Coach Kalen DeBoer, so far, it seems like he loses to odd teams. Like, he doesn't lose. Like, if this guy's playing at like top 10 teams, he probably wins. But and not just saying this at Alabama, like even previous to this, if you look to who Coach Kalen DeBoer lost to when he was at Washington, he lost to like non-ranked teams. And I think that that's kind of a sign to me that you don't keep your team focused and avoiding the rat poison. Like, I love it. This Ryan Williams right now playing Cam Newton, it's fun. It's exciting to think about, right? But I'm probably a little bit more strict, and I have these guys completely dialed in, limited interview opportunities, and the only thing that you are eating or breathing is Auburn Tigers. Like, that's it. Like, I'm not worried. You can worry about your brand after, let's say, there's a time for that. And what you've done on the field will continue to elevate your brand. But this is a world to where, these players have opportunities to continue to increase their brand. I just think that right now with the stakes are that high that I would probably like maybe tighten things up as much as possible to have these guys focusing in on, the task at hand, which is beating Auburn. But I don't know. I don't even know if Coach Saban would agree with that, because right now it's all about players increasing their value for their own personal brand, which how can you argue against that? These guys are trying to get paid like everybody else. One story that I forgot to bring up, and I saw this last night. I haven't seen this anywhere. I haven't even seen people talking about this, but this is a scary thing, okay? And I'm still digging into this. So I need to read more on this subject. Did you guys see this? Dre Kirkpatrick Jr. is being sued by a student at Oklahoma. Did you see this? After the game, when Oklahoma charged the field, there was a student that came onto the field. I don't know all the facts. Somehow these two got tangled up or something like that. You can read the story. And the young man is suing Dre Kirkpatrick, not the university, because you can't sue the university. University, I think, has immunity, but he's suing the player. And what I was thinking about now is, oh my goodness, these players now with NIL deals and that, are millionaires now. I would imagine, Dre Kirkpatrick's probably a different story because, his pops played in the league and all that stuff. But think about the higher level players. These students could charge the field, bump into a player, say, oh, you hit me and I didn't have pads on and you were trying to run over me. I'm suing you. Think about that. I was like, oh my goodness. Don't storm the field. Let the players get to the locker room. Now, again, I don't have all the facts, but I just saw that Dre Kirkpatrick Jr. is being sued. It's just like, oh my goodness. It is just so crazy. And not, like Arizona State recently, they charged the field when the game wasn't even over. Wild stuff. You could look it up. Just type in Dre Kirkpatrick Jr. being sued. And let's see if I can pull it up on here real quick. It's a wild story. I was just watching that Lions game, and I saw it come across my feed, and I was like, what? Because I haven't seen anybody talk about it. Dre Kirkpatrick Jr. sued. Let's see. Yeah, this is crazy. So we're going to go to Yahoo Sports right now. Really strange story. All right, Yahoo Sports. This is from the Oklahoman. All right, this was, I guess it came out yesterday. Norman, an Oklahoma Sooner fan, is allegedly in a lawsuit that An Oklahoma Sooner fan is alleging in a lawsuit that he suffered a concussion when an Alabama football player struck him in the head from behind after the field was stormed Saturday night. Holden Moxley, 18, sued freshman defensive back Dre Kirkpatrick Jr. on Wednesday in Cleveland County District Court. He is seeking actual and punitive damages. The University of Alabama was not sued. Its athletics communication office did not respond immediately to requests for comment on behalf of the player. The fan was identified in the lawsuit as a senior at Perry High School. The incident was described in the lawsuit as an unprovoked attack. The plaintiff was later taken to the emergency room where he was diagnosed with a concussion, the lawsuit states. Oklahoma beat Alabama 24-3. thousands of fans rushed the field twice. The first time came with 28 seconds during a timeout. The second time came after the final play. Filing the lawsuit was Mark Hammonds, a longtime Oklahoma City attorney known for his success in wrongful termination cases. He is currently representing 2 teachers in a high profile against superintendents, blah, blah, blah. Hammonds told the Oklahoma on Wednesday there is a video of the incident. He also said Moxie has talked with the Norman police. He wasn't doing anything, Hammond said. He wanted to take a selfie. He got his camera up to do that, and the Alabama players come up behind him and hit him square in the back of the head. There is just no defense to that. You don't do that. You can really hurt someone. The Alabama player is around 200 pounds. He's a pretty good-sized guy, outweighing our kid by about 30 pounds or more. Moxie was turned away from the player when he was punched, the attorney said. Moxie had no interaction with the player and was not acting aggressively, said the attorney. Look, I don't know all the facts, but I do know this. Stay off the field. Like, stay off the field. I haven't seen the video. I don't know. But stay off the field. Like, you are putting the players in danger when you storm the field. It clearly says that the players were storming the field. And they stormed the field before the game was even over. I'm going to tell you something. Have you ever been on a football field and you're not part of the mob that rushes? You're trying to get away? I'm telling you, it can cause a lot of anxiety in terms because you are not going anywhere. There could be a stampede, anything. I would like to see the video. I really would. Maybe we'll find it. But yeah, crazy story. I have no idea what is going to happen going forward. The part that I find interesting is the attorney says that the kid wasn't doing anything wrong. He was trying to take a selfie. I would argue that it's wrong to storm the field, and it's wrong because the university is penalized with a heavy fine for allowing students to rush the field. It's not in the rule book. You see what I'm saying? You can't rush the field and players trying to run off. Again, I have no idea what happened, but what I'm getting at, I think, is now that these players are worth millions of dollars in these NIL deals, who's to say a player over here, some kid, some adult, isn't like, hey, I'm going to go find Ryan Williams and run into Ryan Williams and say that and then sue Ryan Williams because I know he's a millionaire. I'm serious. Now, these players, there should be no way that you could charge. I'm telling you, this is going to happen. It's scary. Anyways, just a story that came up, but they definitely need to stop this because it puts a lot of people in danger, the players, the coaches. That's why, Coach Saban said one time he never really understood why the sheriffs had to come and escort him out. Well, he said that he was so happy after, I think they beat someone on the road or something like that, and the sheriffs were around him. Crazy. Anyways, don't storm the field. Again, I haven't seen the video. I don't know all the facts. Just a story that came out. I appreciate you guys being here today on the Score Prediction Show. Kyle Henderson, Bama Football on YouTube. These are also uploaded in podcast forms. So, like, subscribe, and I will be live tomorrow for the watch along. I hope you guys join me. And look, I know that it does get a little bit high anxiety with Alabama playing like this, but I do feel that they'll be able to dig it out tomorrow. I think it'll be close. I do have anxiety as well, just because a lot has to do with the way that Hugh Freeze plays. And like, he's a crafty coach. Like, he can beat you. He can outcoach you. So I hope you had an amazing Thanksgiving. Thank you very much for being here. Bearsy, thank you so much for becoming a fan funder, and to everybody else inside the Undefeated. Thanks for the super chat, William. I really appreciate you guys. You know where to find me, right here on Bama Football on YouTube, or as news happens, I got you covered right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Have a beautiful day. Stay in the present, and I will catch you soon right here on Bama Football on YouTube. See